let's pick up on how China's share of global trade has really evolved over the past decade. And what role do you think it now plays for major European economies? We're seeing, what, the first visit in 8 years from a British Prime Minister.
So if we go back 25 years, China's share of global trade was a mere 3.5%. This past year, 15%, almost a five-fold increase with a record $1.2 trillion surplus in trade. So China became the factory to the world, still is, and no economy can avoid the market size opportunity or the manufacturing and supply chain efficiency that China offers to the global trading system.
One thing we have seen, though, is a dramatic change in from made in China to created and manufactured in China. And we're talking about renewable energy, EVs. Well, how do you think that this is sparking concrete trade or investment outcomes following recent visits to Beijing by the UK Prime Minister Starmer, Finnish Prime Minister, as well as Mark Carney and his very significant moves that he made with China recently?
There's a ongoing parade of international leaders and heads of state. It's been going on for the last couple of years and intensified in recent months, as your lead suggested. All of these leaders are looking for two things. They're looking for access to the China market for export opportunities from their own nations, and they're looking for inbound investment into their economies because, of course, they need to drive growth, and inward investment is a key element of driving growth. Plus, of course, there is less reliability in the traditional trading relationship that Western allies have with Washington, and therefore they are having to hedge their bets by looking more closely at China trade and investment.
That's a kind way of saying Trump's tariffs have turned the world on its head. So let's talk about how we got to this point, the dramatic shift in trade relations, and what you think the future is going to look like. And how does China gain from this seismic shift?
By attempting to decouple or reduce dependency on China for the United States, I think President Trump has perhaps unwittingly, maybe even accidentally and unintentionally, started to decouple the world from the United States because of the tariff-related policies that were not only leveled against China, but against long-term allies. And that has given a lot of pause for concern in European capitals as well as in Ottawa, etc. And therefore, these countries have been looking to double down on relations with China and improve those trade and investment collaborations that we have seen in the case most recently of the United Kingdom Prime Minister's visit.
How do you think the Trump administration is reacting and will continue to react? Trump had a visceral reaction to Mark Carney and that significant trade deal between Canada and China. Perhaps a bit less, do you think, with the UK? It's not nearly the massive trade deal that we saw China side on with Canada.
I think there are three things there. First, the UK and the US continue to have very tight defense and security relations. And so President Trump probably does not want to upset that apple cart. Secondly, the United Kingdom is extremely strong in financial services, HSBC and Standard Chartered being two extremely important companies that were part of this visit. And then thirdly, I think on the China side, it's 8 years since the UK Prime Minister visited. It's a very important relationship for China because the UK is China's third largest trading partner, right, and vice versa. And therefore, it's important that this meeting took place. And although there's a certain amount of optics rather than specifics that come out of these high profile visits, I think step one has been taken, and a lot of work to be done in consummating the various memorandums of understanding that were signed. But I think the UK and China are on a good path to a reset.
We don't have a lot of time, John, but I'm curious what you think. Davos was certainly kind of a reckoning for U.S. President Trump. So what is next for U.S.-EU relations as well as U.S.-China relations?
I think in many respects, the US-Europe relationship, the ball is in the court of Washington because the Europeans have become skeptical and they are looking for reassurance. As far as US-China is concerned, we're looking at the possibility of President Trump visiting late March or early April. And that will be a very important visit, and there will have to be a lot of substantive developments emanating from that visit for it to be considered a success.